Hi guys, it's Kayla. I'm going to be doing the Fairytale tag. I was tagged by Lara. I'm not very well read in fairy tales, but I do really enjoy them, so I think this will be a fun tag. If you watched my Barnes & Noble haul, then you know that I just recently got some fairy tale books. I got The Complete Fairy Tales by Hans Christian Andersen, and I got The Complete Brothers Grimm Fairy Tales. I think it'll be a really good starting place for brushing up on my fairy tales. The first question is, what was your first introduction to fairy tales? For me, that would definitely be the Disney movies. I was a 90s kid, so Disney's were all the rage, as you probably know. But there were a few fairy tale books that I was exposed to as a kid. My mom had given us this German fairy tale book that was really beautiful. I think it had a gnome on the cover and it was illustrated, and I really liked that book. And then I think my grandmother gave me a fairy tale book that had like Aladdin and the Little Mermaid, and that had gorgeous art in it. It had like a cartoony animated movie look to it that I really enjoyed, and I remember being really confused because at the time I didn't realize that there were other fairy tales besides the Disney ones and different versions of those stories. So I was kind of like, what is this? This isn't Disney. But I did really enjoy it, and I think that was the first time that I realized that there were different versions of fairy tales. The second question is, do you have a favorite fairy tale or favorite fairy tale character or several? I pretty much like all of them. There are way too many to list. I like The Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid, Aladdin. I really like the animated Robin Hood, but I'm not sure if that counts as a fairy tale. I really like the Frog Prince or Frog Princess stories. Peter Pan's a good one too, but again, I'm not sure if that counts as a fairy tale. I'm really bad at distinguishing between folklore, fairy tale, all that jazz. I don't think I could possibly pick a favorite character. There are just too many to name and nothing's really coming to mind. But I do tend to like the non-human characters and ones that transform in some way, and I also like mischievous characters. They're really fun to read about, and I also really like fairies. Do you immediately associate fairy tales with Disney and their Disney incarnations? Is this association a good or a bad thing? I do for the ones where the Disney version is the only one that I've seen yet, but even if I know the original versions, I can't help but compare them to the Disney one. I don't know, it just happens. But I do keep in mind that the original versions are different and usually darker. I don't think it's a bad thing to associate them with Disney. For a lot of people, that's the first version of fairy tales that they're exposed to, and the music and the animation is really fun. Watching a Disney movie is always a pleasant experience. I don't think it's a bad thing if people associate it with Disney because everyone's different and has different preferences. Some people prefer a happy ending, others prefer more realistic, darker stories. Fairy tales are great, whatever form they take, and I think variety is good for fairy tales because then everyone can enjoy the stories. Do you prefer lighter or darker fairy tale renditions? I think I would prefer darker, mostly because they're more complex, and I really like gray characters with a lot of backstory, and rather than just being good or evil naturally, I like more of a story behind their character and how they became the way they are. And in a way, I think the lighter ones are a little bit darker because there are these people who are just naturally evil or seem to be. And I think that's kind of scary that they're just evil for no apparent reason. Do you read fairy tale adaptations? If so, name some faves. I have not read nearly as many as I would like to. I would love to read Cinder, and any versions of my favorite fairy tales, The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin. I really want to try reading different versions of those because I think that would be awesome. But the only one that I can remember that I've read it's called Dragon's Breath, I think, and it was like a frog princess retelling. I thought that was a fun fantasy. Other than that, I can't really recall any that I've read, but I will for sure be reading more in the future. And if you guys have any good recommendations, please let me know. In terms of fairy tales on film, what are some of your favorites? Ever After is definitely one of my favorites. I love how it's a realistic portrayal of Cinderella. I like how it shows that you don't always need magic to have a breathtaking, imaginative story, and yeah, so I just really enjoyed that, and I really like Drew Barrymore, so it was great that she was in it. If you can count Peter Pan, I really like the live action version with Jeremy Sumpter in it. I'm pretty sure I enjoyed the Brothers Grimm movie, although I can't remember it enough to talk about it. And I think there was a Jack and the Beanstalk movie that I used to like a lot, but I cannot remember it. What novels and films with a fairy tale feel do you enjoy? Well, one of my favorites is definitely The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle. This is just so beautifully written, and I really enjoyed the story. Another book that I recently got that I haven't read yet, but it does have a fairy tale feel, is The Girl with Glass Feet. I also think Something Wicked This Way Comes has a very dark fairy tale charm to it, and it's a really great book. As for films, the film adaptation of The Last Unicorn is also very nice. The Dark Crystal is definitely my favorite. Also, The Nightmare Before Christmas, Fern Gully, The Page Master, that was a really good one. The Never Ending Story, for sure. I love that movie. I also really liked The Swan Princess. That even had like a frog prince in it. What do you think accounts for the enduring appeal of fairy tales? Well, I suppose one of the reasons must be that they're very imaginative, and the fantasy aspects of them are very appealing to a lot of people. There's probably a lot of reasons, and it varies for different people, but I think one of the main ones is that it's morals in a fascinating package. Our parents and society tries to teach us right from wrong, but it's more fun to get it from a story where you make the connection on your own and it's not forced on you. And for children, I think they really do engage their imagination and help them develop psychologically. They can be exposed to these elements in a safe way. Was or is there a character or tale that impacted you the most? It's really hard to pinpoint just one that shaped me as a person, but I'm just gonna say The Little Mermaid. Musically and story-wise, I just really enjoyed it, and it was a huge part of my childhood, and I think it really sparked my fascination for the ocean and made me enjoy swimming a lot more, and I pretty much wanted to be a mermaid. But besides that, I do relate to Ariel. She wanted to experience something different, something new, and she left in the pursuit of a chance at love. And my romance started pretty much in the same way. And also, we both have a bunch of sisters, and I can't speak for her, but I know that I felt very guilty when I left, and I still do. But it was just something that I knew I had to do. In a way, Ariel was being kind of selfish, but I can understand her and relate to her. And I'm referring to strictly the Disney version. I know the original plays out a little differently. If you could be any fairy tale character, who would it be and why? I would pick Jasmine. She gets to ride on a magic carpet. She has a monkey and a tiger as her friends. And she lives in a world where a genie exists, which is quite awesome. And there's also a talking cave full of treasure. And if things like this exist, there's gotta be a lot of potential for adventure. If you could rewrite or re-envision a fairy tale, what would it be and what would you change? I don't have a specific story in mind that I would change, but I would definitely make a wolf as a good guy because it seems like they're usually shown as the bad guy, and wolves are actually really fascinating, beautiful creatures, and they don't deserve to be portrayed as evil, and it would be nice to have a story that shows a different side to them. Your fairy tale weapon of choice. I thought the power of a name was a really interesting one, and that would be really cool, but I would probably choose preying on a specific human weakness. I'm not really sure in what sense the question was meant, but it would be really interesting if you had to evoke certain emotions from people. Human emotion is a pretty unstable thing, and I'd be able to take advantage of that for my own power benefits. It would be pretty cruel and evil, but I think it would be really interesting to read a story like that. But I guess it wouldn't be so bad if I was preying on a positive emotion. I could affect the people around me in a positive way and spread positive energy. I would be using it for my own gain, but it would be beneficial to them as well, so I wouldn't be such an evil person. Those were all the questions. They were kind of difficult to answer, but I really enjoyed thinking about them. So thank you, Renee, for creating this tag. I'm not sure if I'm going to tag anyone. If I do, I'll put it in the description bar below. But feel free to do this tag if you want to. It's pretty fun and worth the effort. I'm sorry if I sounded bad in this video. I'm pretty tired and I kind of had a frog in my throat for a while there. So I'm sorry about that. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye!